All right, you're welcome back to our GAA Championship preview. Oh wait, it's not a preview because we're 2 or 3 weeks deep into the GAA Football Championship. We were supposed to do this a few weeks ago. 23 of the spiciest questions ahead of the summer's football.
Well, they were spicy until we toned them down.
Yeah, well, they've been toned down to kind of a mild at this point. Are you spicy guys?
Oh yeah,
I was spicier 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, at least I can still see there's a bit of spiciness in the room. Some spicy takes is what we're looking for. I'll be giving some takes as well after I hear what you've got to say. And we've got 23 questions, basically.
Wow.
Are you ready?
I'm going to be here all day.
He's got gout. He's not that spicy anymore.
I apologise on behalf of everybody associated with you. Let's get straight into these. It's going to be 23 questions. It's fairly self-explanatory. You'll be able to figure it out after the first one immediately. And the first one is the big question of this year's Football Championship. Can anybody stop Dublin?
Can they? Yes. I think Mayo or Kerry are well
Will
capable.
anybody stop Dublin is the question.
No, I don't think anyone will stop Dublin. I think Dublin are going to somehow get the job done once again.
I don't know. So the only thing here, the only doubt, the two doubts are nobody's any good at the moment. None of the rest of the teams are any good. They don't have, like Mayo don't have all their best players. And what is the truth about Kerry? We don't really know. There's a potential for Kerry to be really good, but after that, who else has the skill set? That's the biggest unknown. On the other side of that is it's a Dublin team who are shorn of some very key talent. You think that they didn't need Connolly last year until they absolutely needed him, and then they really needed him in that last 35 minutes. So it's hard to know if the improvement you're going to get from Mannion, from O'Callaghan, from Fenton this year is going to be enough to make up for the absence of that. That is the one thing that we'll all be watching all summer. But it won't matter until they get to the Super 8s, so because they won't get tested.
There is an opportunity because when you actually do look back on last year's All-Ireland final, I do think 1 to 15, Mayo were the equal, if not slightly better than Dublin. But Mayo haven't got any better over the last year. There is an opportunity, but it just doesn't look as though the chasing pack.
I think Dublin choked a little bit last year in that they didn't play to their full potential and they got out of jail. And I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think that the 3 in a row is a big deal for them in a way that the 4 in a row is kind of a staging post on the way to 5. I think they talked themselves into it. I think that not having Connolly at the start rattled them. And I think a bunch of stuff happened. Like, it didn't seem like they picked their best team. This year, I think they're going to be... They have the... So
is there not a weight of expectation around 4 in a row?
Well, The thing is, we're going to be getting back to this a little bit later on. Question number 14, I'm not going to give away any spoilers. We'll be dealing with this exact topic that you were just about to approach there. That wasn't very spicy. Let's move straight on to number 2, which is to do with Mayo. Mayo, will they make it all the way to the All-Ireland final and fall just short once again? Do tweet us, by the way. Use the hashtag OTB AM.
I think they've every chance of reaching an All-Ireland final. I do think this year is very different to previous years because of the Super 8s. So it all depends on how the qualifiers go, what sort of draw you end up with. Suddenly, if they end up in a draw with Dublin and Monaghan and you have to go to Clones, it's a very different route through. So you might have to go to Croke Park to play Dublin and Clones to play Monaghan. It could become very difficult. But I think if the draw is in their favour, most definitely. And I do think they would get over the line this time.
Mayo are losing an All-Ireland semi-final this year. Absolute guarantee. I've just chalked it down right there. They're going to lose in the All-Ireland semi-final this year.
Who's going to beat them?
It's either going to be Kerry or Dublin. Kerry for revenge, Dublin because they're better than them. Simple as that. Book closed. Game over. Mayo may as well just accept that already.
Don't know if Kerry are going to beat them yet. Have to just see a little bit about this Kerry team. Look, nobody knows anything until the Super 8s actually filter out. There's a good chance they don't make the Super 8s if they get a bad draw because of what happened last year when they didn't play well in the qualifiers and they still don't have any players fit.
Well, that's the biggest issue when you're discussing Mayo. If you bring back a fully fit Chris Barrett, Brendan Harrison, Lee Keegan, Killian O'Connor, it's a totally different side to what we saw against Galway.
Is it the second best side in the country?
Probably.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
Right, okay. I disagree. But will they be the flop of the summer? I think they would be one of the flops of the summer were they not to reach the Super 8. I think there's no question about that. And that is our question number 3. Who will be the flop of the summer? I'm not sure if either of you are thinking Mayo, because as you say, it depends on how these qualifiers go.
I think the loser of Tip and Cork, I think that's a long way back for whoever loses that game because expectations are high. The Tipperary are going to be a shoe-in effectively for the Super 8s and they will be brilliant in the Super 8s. It will be amazing to see them there. They are clearly going to enjoy Croke Park. A game in Thurles will be perfect for them and I don't think they'll fear anybody else heading away there. So I really hope they actually get over Cork just to finally turn Munster into a province that we can tune into more than one game a season and go, oh, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm with you on Tip. I think Tip are going to be the flop of the summer. I hope they aren't.
I'm saying they're not. I'm saying the losers of that game are.
Okay, I think Tip are going to lose that game and I think they will be the flop of the summer. I think the 7-day turnaround is going to be a huge problem for them to get over and I think Cork are back with a small, not overly better than last year, but that was a tight game last year. I mean, they can beat Tipperary. I think they will beat Tipperary. I think Tipperary going to the qualifiers, which is a snake pit this year, and they will lose in the qualifiers and will miss Tip in the Super 8s, despite the fact that they will be well able to hold their own.
It's not a snake pit. The qualifiers are full of crap teams.
It depends what your expectation levels are.
Better teams than Tip.
Who?
Tyrone and Mayo.
That's 2.
Cavan.
Cavan not better than them.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
We'll see.
Why didn't Tip get promoted from Division 2 then?
Well, I mean, league is league, championship, championship.
I know it is.
Let's wait and see.
I can.
Cavan's got annihilated by Donegal. Annihilated. Not even in the game.
So what? I mean, would Tip have got annihilated by this Donegal team?
I'd like to
I think they might have suffered a fairly
Tip
similar fate
on Saturday night, because again, Tip may well have thought, let's just stay steady in Division 2 and concentrate a little bit more and see can we push our way through to the Super 8s.
Who's your flop of the summer?
Well, if Mayo were to lose to anybody except Tyrone in the qualifiers, they would be.
Even if they lose to Tyrone, they've got to beat Tyrone at this point. Come on, you're the second best team in the country. You've got to.
What I'm saying is that's how I think they will be the flop of the summer. I think if Galway don't get to an All Ireland semi final at this stage, it could end up being seen as something of a flop.
What did you say about second best team in the country there?
He said Mayo.
Oh, sorry. So anybody other than Tyrone or Mayo, and you think Tipperary are going to sail through the qualifiers?
No. Okay, so I'll rewind that. He says if anybody other than Tyrone beats Mayo,
Mayo sorry. Right, okay. It's important to keep up with this discussion.
It's strange.
When you're the host.
Flop of the summer is difficult because
it's too early.
Expectation on a few teams, and there's no expectation.
Armagh are already the flop of the summer.
I would have said Armagh 3 weeks ago. I just couldn't see them going anywhere.
We'll move on to the opposite of that. Which team is going to be the fairy tale of the summer? Multiple options here. I guess, can we say Fermanagh now? Because we were kind of cheating by using hindsight.
Well, no.
And also it's Armagh that they beat.
One swallow does not a summer make. It's possible that Armagh reached the Super 8 and that'd be an amazing achievement for them.
Why is that possible?
Why is it possible?
They were a disgrace.
They were, but
against Fermanagh.
So if you look at his record, he gets to quarterfinals with teams that aren't very good after they go out early in provincial championships over the course of 10 years. That's what Geezer's teams have done. I don't know what the hell they have the problem with the first round of championship with. I don't know, if they train too hard for that, thinking, we need to get through this, or I don't know what it is.
Or maybe they're just not very good this year, that they could only kick 7 points.
Look, there's a good chance they're the flop of the summer. There is.
Talk fairy tales.
Fairy tales. New York. I think I can see New York running Leitrim very close. Into extra time even, maybe.
Is that already the fairy tale of the summer?
Tipperary getting a big win in the Super 8s, I think would be something of a fairy tale. Maybe going into a final game of Super 8s with a chance of reaching an All-Ireland semi-final.
Could Tip beat Kerry?
They'll have it at home if they beat Cork this weekend. It'll be in Thurles. A lot of people are writing this Kerry team off. Not this team off, but this 2018 version of this team off. It will be a huge
Monaghan
upset.
as the fairy tale of the summer,
happen.
reaching an All-Ireland final.
Or Donegal. I think this Donegal team are coming forth. I think that Michael Murphy's fit, and I think I think a lot of people didn't think he was going to get fit again, but I thought that he looked pretty good for somebody who hadn't played a lot of ball.
We can hear a clock ticking in our ear. We've been told to hurry up. My fairy tale of the summer is going to be Roscommon for a potential All-Ireland semi-final. Let's not write off the possibility that they'll beat Galway to win Connacht again this year. Question number 5 is, who's your Super 8 wildcard? Maybe a one-word answer here, because we've kind of covered a lot of this section of the championship just there.
Kildare.
I mean, that would be amazing, but not a hope, I don't think. By wildcard, are Tip a wildcard, given that they were as far on as they were last year? Are Monaghan and Donegal wildcards? They're not really, are they? So you're talking about
Kildare, I think, is a suitable one. That's the one that came to the top of my head.
Yeah, I would have Donegal, Tip, Monaghan all reaching the Super 8s, and then there's one other space, depending on how the qualifiers go. I'm not having both Mayo and Tyrone in there.
Right.
I think Down could be one to watch out for if they get a handy draw, because they've got Antrim in the Ulster quarter-final. Obviously, we'll get to the Ulster semi-final where they'll lose to Donegal, win 2 games into a Super 8.
A lot of people in Down are tipping Antrim.
They are, yeah. I just listened to the Saturday panel last Saturday, Owen.
Yeah.
Danny Hughes was like, I think this is... I mean, it might just have been cute tourism out of Down. But he was also pretty depressed about the state of Down football. So,
who are you calling?
Kildare.
Cork,
right, okay. Top scoring forward this summer, who's it going to be? It was Dean Rock last year. We haven't really narrowed this down into from play or from frees included. I guess let's just go for the overall top scorer here.
Paul Mannion.
Dean Rock, hits frees.
Okay, from play.
Paul Mannion from play. Again, because of the Super 8, Paul Mannion could have scored 4-16 by the end of the Leinster Championship. By the end of Sunday.
Does Conor Callan kick points?
Well, he only scores goals, really, doesn't he? But that would contribute to him massively in terms of being the top scoring forward this year. Let's go for from play. Conor Callaghan's a good shout. Manning's a good shout.
Paul Gainey?
Gainey was who I was going to say because of the potential of an easier Super 8 group for Kerry, and that's where the difference lies here. Obviously, the Leinster Championship hugely favours Dublin when it comes to high-scoring forwards.
A definite pattern emerging here. And I'm trying to rein my male bias in as much as possible.
He suggested him.
Yeah, just to get it out before you did.
Well, I think he's good.
Off you.
I do think Dean Rock will be top scoring forward if you include Freeze. I think Mannion's a fine shout when it comes to from play. So is Paddy McBrearty. So I would have Paddy McBrearty probably above Gainey.
Slow enough start last week.
He did. He only kicked 4 points. But
Conor McManus?
It's a good shout.
No, I'm sticking with Paul Mannion.
Paul Mannion, you're going Conor Callaghan. I'm going Paul Gainey. We'll see what happens come the end of the season, and we're going for from play from that particular one. From top scoring forward to best young footballer of the year, who's it going to be this year? Conor Callaghan is ineligible.
Is he? You just made a rule up.
If Conor Callaghan
How can he be ineligible when Diarmuid O'Connor was winning when he was 40?
There was only 1 year between them, and Diarmuid wasn't eligible last year as far as I'm aware, and Conor Callaghan is that age now. So I think 1997 is the cut-off point this year.
You're going to go for David Clifford, are you?
No, I'm going to go for Sean O'Shea, actually, his teammate.
I'll go for Clifford then.
I was going to go maybe someone like Jamie Brennan from Donegal if they had a good run, get to the Super 8s, get to an All-Ireland semi-final.
I like the way we've got a list of contenders up there to, focus the minds.
Yeah, well, we don't really. It seems to be...
Owen's still struggling with who's actually eligible.
Clifford Brennan...
Do an FAI-style deal where they realise there's not enough young players and have to do it under 25.
Cyrus Christie is your young footballer of the year this year in GAA. So, why Clifford? I mean, other than the obvious...
Well, he did quite well at minor level, I hear.
I heard he's an up-and-comer.
There's a bit of hype about him,
What have you seen that makes you think that he's going to...
I see you excited on a Monday morning after you've been to a league game in the depths of winter.
That's supposed to be secret.
And you're like, face beaming. And you can't help yourself.
Sure, league is league, championship is championship.
I know, but there was just a few shimmies where, he went out and got that one ball that you were like, oh! And the knowledgeable Kerry crowd were like, that's it, he's made it now.
Does David Clifford, because of the level of expectation, does he need to have an exceptional year to be Young Player of the Year, or actually, does he just need to be fine? And
no, I think that his teammates or other players will get like that. Well, Clifford was a disappointment. He only scored 227 in 5 games.
Well, I've got a clock ticking in my ear, so we're going to have to wrap up the David Clifford talk, but that sounds like consensus to me. The next one is, what county will have the most players on planes to America?
Mayo.
Laois.
Mayo people never leave. They hang around for the heartache.
What about Offaly?
What if they're out of the championship?
No, they still hang around. There's money to be made. All those lads have been around the block. There's going to be a lot of media gigs going for the first team out of the championship.
It's true. Me. I'm sure they all work in Dublin as well. They all have good jobs.
Exactly. Well-educated bunch.
It's going to be Offaly after this thing eventually ends. I mean, it's like a matter of just clear your head for a while. It's been a
if
traumatic...
Offaly win 2 games, they're the fairy tale of the summer, right?
Yes.
That's like if they pull a Carlo and win and put in. So maybe I'm going to go back and answer that question retrospectively.
So if Offaly were to go and beat Armagh the qualifiers, suddenly...
Well, that would be like a massive outpouring.
No, none of them will believe in it. Paul Rouse is going to have them all on scholarships in UCD for next year, so they're all hanging around.
It's a pretty smart move to do that. We'll move quickly on to question number 9. We've already seen a media ban implemented temporarily in the hurling world, but what's going to be the first media ban in the world of football this year? What are you thinking?
Dublin.
Dublin,
100%.
Is Armagh a potential shout here?
Armagh are in one, are they? Are they already on just a continuous one?
No, Geezer spoke to RT after the game on Sunday game at the weekend. I'm sure he talked to News Talk as well. I don't know. I didn't.
Tyrone?
Tyrone's a good shout. I'm talking about a full media ban.
So not just RTE. They won't talk to us even.
Yeah, exactly. Just radio silence, siege mentality, like they did in Armagh a few years ago. I can see a repeat of that.
Last week, that counts.
That counts, yeah. That's the hurling one. This is football.
Yeah. No, I get it. Understand. Patronising dick.
And that's it? You've got nothing to answer then after that? It's
Dublin.
Dublin? All right, we actually do have a consensus for the first time on the show. That was question 9. On to question number 10. The best defence in the country. Who's going to be the most staunchest set of backs to come up against this year?
Mayo.
Fermanagh?
Why Fermanagh? Mayo's an interesting one. We'll come back to that in just a second.
Yeah, I mean, Fermanagh is obviously mildly facetious, but Rory Gallagher knows how to set up defensive structures. I mean, the Dubs are also pretty good. They're amazing.
Yeah. What about
2-7? Dublin's defence is pretty exceptional. Ricey has a little bit of Tyrone nastiness to go with. The tactical announcer, Rory Gallagher. Yeah, maybe Fermanagh. I just think Mayo, 2-7, have the best 6 defenders in the country if they have a full-back line of Harrison, Barrett, Higgins, and a half-back line of Durkin, Boyle and Keegan.
Yeah, but when's Lee Keegan playing football again? When is Lee Keegan playing football again?
Man is Superman.
I know, but like, there's only so many times you can go to the well, Nathan. That well, there's only a tiny dribble of water left.
No, he'll be back in 2 or 3 weeks. Don't you panic.
Galway is going to be the staunchest defence this summer.
No, if you include their forwards being defenders.
Oh, but I mean, that's the question. It's like, whatever the style of play is.
It's going to be the most negative team. Oh, that'll be Galway.
Ooh. How negative are they going to be?
Well, like, as negative as they were at McHale Park.
And where does that rank in the all-time negative GAA teams in your view?
Well, they did what had to be done. They were taking on one of the great
winners
GAA teams. You do what you got to do. Listen, they grounded out against a team short of 4 or 5 of their best players. You know, been on the road for years, and they just about... McHale Park isn't the home... Did you see the state of that pitch?
I see you haven't won a game there all year.
Yeah, the pitch is a disgrace.
Well, fix it.
Do I hate Galway? Roscommon's always been the enemy for me because we're closer to the Roscommon border. But there is that nagging fear once again that after losing All-Ireland finals in 96 and 97 that somehow Dublin get beaten by Kerry and Galway sneak in. So
how much did he hate them then?
A lot.
So you just hate Galway in general?
So much so that he went and lived there and worked there. And they gave him a home, they gave him a dog and a string, and they put their...
That's the city.
They put their beard around him.
That's the city, Jared. They don't care about their football in the city.
Snuggled in against him.
So we've got Pundit of the Summer in the hurling wrapped up already. Tommy Walsh claimed that award with his Rihanna anecdote a couple of weeks ago. What is going to be Pundit of the Summer when it comes to the football? It's question number 11.
Well, Brawley is the obvious answer, but I think Sean Kavanagh has decided, do you know what? I'm going all out.
Philip Jordan wrote a pretty interesting column on one of those websites the other day where he was like, I see he's just learning from Brawley. Like, I mean, I'd say this to his face, and we played together a long time, but no, he's just doing stuff.
The civil war within Tyrone football could boil over as the summer goes on.
I don't feel like it's time for Mickey to go. It's like, well, I mean, maybe some other people do.
Well, Sean Kavanagh always had this potential. We had him on reporting on an All-Ireland quarter-final, I think it was 2 years ago, the week after Tyrone had been taken out of the championship, and he ripped Mickey Hart to shreds without naming him. The management team needs to take a good, hard look at themselves. And straight away you're like, this guy is going to be good. And I think he has decided, do you know what, I could go in and I could be bland and nobody will ever notice me, or maybe I'll take a little bit of a look at Brawley and go, hey, it's showbiz, baby.
I think you give Kavanagh 1 year before you can actually crown him with this weighty crown that we're about to give him here, because there's a format that works in a Sunday game, and it's not in-depth, long, flowing hatred of a management team that he might have done off the ball one day. Sunday game has to be short, snappy. It's got to be whatever you can say in a tweet, you have to be able to say on the Sunday game, or vice versa.
I think the pundit of the year will be sipping an espresso on the terrazza in Turin when Azeglio Vicini walks out and drops a little bit of old school Juventus style wisdom that is distilled into a nugget in the third paragraph of the Irish Times round about week 10, and Jim McGuinness will go. QED might drop off, I go.
It's very hard to disagree with that theory, except for the fact that a man called David Brady exists.
That field.
Yeah.
David Brady or Tomás O'Shea for me to claim Pundit of the Year this year.
Tomás O'Shea, didn't mention Tomás, another person who came out in favour of yes vote in the referendum, sticking his head above the parapet and then answering people in the tweets underneath. So certainly a man who is not lacking for bravery on or off the field.
No, and he's cracked that RTE kind of format at the moment, so he can hit there. His column is always great. And David Brady, of course, seems to have cracked the off the ball code as well.
We need a good Mayo run. We need a good Mayo run to get the best out of DB.
And like set up perfectly for a brilliant Mayo run. That's why DB's been so great the last 2 years. The next one is we've kind of focused on defences as a unit already in this. The next question is, who is going to be the most feared man marker? I'm looking for an individual here, folks.
Like the
Billy.
Yeah.
Philly.
He's just come off it that little bit, like.
But how does he make up for that? In more aggression.
Maybe, yeah.
Loses the yard of pace, makes up for it in just pure blatant
who did Galway have
aggression.
That, like that?
15 players. Damien Comer, although he's a forward.
Really?
You know, he wants to get involved in a little old tussle.
Yeah, he can definitely do that.
I'm turning this into...
Who
would you not want to go up against in a scrap?
A Galway roast.
Well,
While you're thinking there, John Small is the heir apparent, obviously, in that Philly nature, right?
See, he's too much of a ball player. Well, he's quite the ball player too.
And also being a cornerback helps rather than being a wing back, for sure.
Yeah.
It's interesting we're not naming any Kerry players here at all.
Well, who are the Kerry
where's the nasty
defenders,
streak? Where's the nasty streak in this Kerry side?
Who's going to be doing that job if anybody has to do it?
Shane Enright, potentially Mark Griffin, probably not, to be honest.
Guys unbelievably exposed in last year's All-Ireland semi-final.
Exactly, yeah. But that was kind of more to do with an Andy Moore and shaped Achilles heel rather than anything else. That would be a rabbit hole if we got into that particular
Lee
matchup.
Keegan, if he comes back.
Yeah, Lee
Keith Higgins.
Wasting his talent.
Keith Higgins, good shout. Chris Barrett.
Any of that Mayo fullback line, I think we can all agree.
Enough of the Mayo glorification. The next question, which we're going to be chatting about, is not going to be doing with defences. It is going to be to do with the most improved player. Who is going to be 2018's most improved player before the end of the summer? For me, I'm just going to throw this one out here. Lo and behold, it's a Kerry player. Stephen O'Brien. Stephen O'Brien to be 2018's most improved player.
It's bullshit, because this guy, everybody's going to start going, oh, look, he's passing the ball forward and he's taking responsibility. But Kieran Kilkenny is my shout for Footballer of the Year. He's worth a little nibble at whatever odds he's at the moment, because...
I'm fairly sure he's the favourite.
Is he?
He is the favourite, yeah. He definitely is the favourite.
Like 12s, 14 to 1, or is it shorter than
that? Yeah.
I think he's single figures.
Okay, well, single figures isn't a great price. I just think that, like, there are still people who haven't watched the league who will be like, oh, look at all this sideways passing. It's a betrayal of the ethos of... But actually, it's the role of the point guard in football, in basketball, is to control the game. He's controlled the game better than everybody else. That's finally going to be explained properly in a series of pieces of punditry that everybody goes, oh, look, that guy's really good.
Yeah, Kieran Kilkenny is the guy who loosens the jar before somebody opens it. Like, I've heard that analogy being made about somebody else recently. I can't remember who, but as soon as I heard it, I was like, that's Kieran Kilkenny right there. I mean, he is the reason why they managed to open Tyrone up so blatantly in last year's All-Ireland semi-final.
So I'm going to go for somebody based on last year's performances, that if he can get back anywhere near that, will give his team a chance of winning the All-Ireland. James O'Donoghue. If he improves on where he was last year, I know he had all sorts of injury problems, and if he can somehow stay fit for the championship.
That's more a comeback player.
Well, what you're saying is true, but I don't think it answers the question. Who is going to be the most improved player? Like, if he is the most improved player, absolutely. I think my bullishness about Kerry would somehow increase. But will he be the guy who comes back and
I'm saying yes.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's a good shout. I like your shout. I'm starting to like your takes on Gaelic football, Nathan. Thank you very much for that. The next one is about management, and who's going to be the manager, or who is currently the manager under the most pressure?
Stephen Rochford is bizarrely, I think, the manager under the most pressure, considering he's got a side to 2 All-Ireland finals in the 2 seasons he's been in charge. But
what have you done for me lately, Nathan? What have you done for me lately?
A lot of people sniping down in Mayo and around Mayo, so I think Rochford, if they were to go out in the qualifiers, that would be that more than likely for him.
It feels like this is his last year unless they win anyway, right? It doesn't feel like that's a 6-year term he's going for.
No, and I remember having a conversation with James Horn after last year's All-Ireland final, and he was saying that it almost felt as though
just you sitting there gazing along in his eyes. Come back.
It was tears at this stage. It was shortly after the full-time whistle.
Come back.
No, I think Stephen Rochford has done an unbelievably good job, and we need to stop this constant Horn needs to return, and that is what's going to change everything. But Horn was making a very valid point that Stephen Rochford had more stress in his 2 years than Horn had in his 4 years, because stressed in terms of so many big matches, so much pressure going into so many different games, whereas Mayo under Horn for a long time were sort of cruising during Connacht. You're not having any restless nights there. So I think that's probably the reason why it would be Rochford's last year, that it's just simply impossible for him to go on under that level of pressure for another year.
Is Eamon Fitzmaurice under pressure?
Of course he is. He's Kerry manager who hasn't won an All-Ireland since 2014. That is the definition of pressure in Kerry.
But is he? Because does Fitzmaurice not have the backing of the county board? He's under pressure from the supporters.
He signed a long-term deal for...
And rightly so. I mean, it is a 3-year project to make sure that these guys are brought through, and in reality he shouldn't be under that much pressure this year if you're going to think about the greater good. But naturally he is, because of the circumstances in that county. I think Kieran McGeeney could be a shout for a manager under pressure as well, and that's completely unrealistic expectations from an Armagh perspective. That they can achieve better than they did last year.
Well, is it? Like, if you had all of the available resources playing for you, if you had all the Cross-McGlenn players playing for you, then you would be a team that people would expect to be a Division 2 team and potentially, nipping at the heels of the Division 1 teams. As it is, many of those players who are good enough to play into county football aren't playing. it's kind of like, well, whose responsibility is that? It's partly them, it's partly him. What's the share of that pie?
And realistically, McGeaney not being a yes man could lead to his own downfall.
Yeah,
and
true.
Good luck to him.
Keane O'Neill is under pressure. I think that's just how Kildare football eats itself again and again and again and again and again and again.
Pete McGrath.
I mean, Pete McGrath did lay into his own team. So.
Like he's probably going to walk away himself rather than be put under pressure at the end of this year. He's already said, I regret taking this job. He's made better decisions in his life. So I think it's fairly ominous there in the Louth camp. The next question is going to be a fairly quick one. It's number 15. Who's got the best midfield? These questions were written before the Tom Parsons injury, just letting you know.
Dublin, by far.
The Dubs.
The Dubs. Let's move on. Will Cork be better or worse than last year? We kind of touched on this, but there's a bit left to talk about maybe.
I can't see them being any better in that I don't see them beating Tipperary, and it's hard to see them having any sort of quality to go and cause an upset.
I can't see them being any worse is the other issue. Like, who eventually knocked them out last year?
Mayo.
Yeah. After
extra time, remember?
Yeah, so they,
Like they have those performances in them, and I always look back in the Brian Cuthbert era, which was the last time I properly hated Cork, and they've now got his selector Ronan McCarthy at the helm here. I mean, I know it's only symbolism, really. None of us can really claim to know the ins and outs of Ronan McCarthy's style of management unless we're actually from Cork. But even just that symbolism leads me to be a little bit hopeful that I'll start to hate Cork a little bit again this year.
You mean in a good way? Hate them
in a good way. I mean,
like
when they were 2010, when you absolutely hated every fibre of Cork's beings, whereas the last 2 years, I've been like, I'd rather like Cork, which is never a good thing. They will beat Tipperary, I think, and I think that's a sign of improvement in itself. The next one is going to be worst team of the summer. Has it already been answered? Has the Offaly debacle already turned them into this? There is a huge opportunity for Paul Rouse to bring them onto the next level.
Armagh, Mayo, all the possibilities are endless.
So who is going to be the worst team of the summer once we go through these next 6 weeks?
The worst is versus expectations. Expectations for Offaly were pretty low, so I don't think you can kind of... there's a possibility that any of those teams who limp into the qualifiers, players are already gone...
Armagh the most likely, 7 points. They only kicked 8 points in their last championship game last summer. So if they end up losing first round of the qualifiers, comfortably the worst team of the summer.
Yeah, we're going to rattle through these last few ones very quickly. Just some quick fire ones to finish off. Ulster's best chance in the All-Ireland?
Donegal.
In the All-Ireland?
In the All-Ireland series, yeah.
Still think Tyrone.
I'd be on Donegal's side myself. Can Galway make the All-Ireland final? Is a burning question that's going to come up over the last couple of weeks.
Do they have to play Dublin in the semis?
In the semis, if they come second in their Super 8 group, yes.
And if they win their Super 8, they'll avoid them?
They probably will avoid Dublin.
But they're going to be in the same Super 8 group as
Kerry, which will be in Croke Park. So...
No.
They can, I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either, but I think
that's
they can.
That's a no. They're no's. You can't say that.
Okay, no.
You're saying both answers.
No.
You're saying both answers.
No.
Galway will not be in an All-Ireland final. They will not be in an All-Ireland final. Can anyone in Leinster come close to Dublin?
Like 10 points close?
10 points close. Like 9 and below close.
I mean, accidentally, yeah, because the Dubs get bored 3/4 of the way through and throw the ball into their own net a couple of times.
I don't think there'll be any part of this Leinster Championship where Dublin look like losing a game.
No, it's a fat no. No, never.
Yeah, it's no. Dublin to become the best team of all time this year?
No, they've got to win next year, 5 in a row.
Got to win the 5 in a row, and they know that.
Absolutely. So none of your talking about Dublin as the best team of all time this summer if they happen to win the All Ireland. Footballer of the year.
Style. I mean, they're already as good as the Grey Kerry team. They have as many All Irelands in as many years. They're one short, right?
Well, exactly. Yeah,
yeah. But also Kerry had to beat 2 teams, and that was it. There was no back door. It was a far less serious game.
Dublin beat 1 team last year. They had one proper game.
Oof.
One tough game. Footballer of the year, who's it going to be? You already said your uncle, Kenny.
I'd go back on that. Brian Fenton.
Footballer of the year, Johnny Cooper.
Why?
Headers don't really get it that much.
I'm just thinking that maybe this year they're going to go for something slightly different. Maybe he'll be man of the match in the All-Ireland final. Keep Andy Moran quiet.
Nah, it's not enough. So Leroy gets it.
Because he was deserving
and
of the honour.
Scores loads of goals. It's fun. It's flash. But Johnny Cooper's not flash enough to get the votes. Is his name actually Leroy? Because they've started to print it in the newspapers like it is.
I didn't notice that quite recently.
What's going on?
As far as I know, it's just his nickname.
Is it? Are they saying it's Gooch now? It's at Gooch levels, Leroy? But it's not really that. Come on.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
Stop calling him Leroy in the papers unless his name is actually Leroy.
Like, I think it might be.
Is his name actually
I'm
Leroy?
starting to think his name is your name Leroy. Do tweet us if you're watching. Do Lees out there? I don't know many Lees personally. I wonder, does it say Leroy on their birth certificate?
It's a great question. We'll ask him.
That'll be on our spicy questions this time next year, because this is definitely returning, this format. What is your hope?
Next year we might even do it before the championship starts.
What is your hope for the summer? This is our last question, so be as hot in your takes here as possible.
My hope for the summer is that Mayo return, because I think, and I'd actually like to see Mayo and Tyrone in the Super 8s, because suddenly you've got good depth. I'd like to see Dublin having to go to maybe Castlebar, or to go to Ballyboface, somewhere like that, where they'd be under a little bit of pressure. I just want the Super 8s to be great.
Owen wants them to split the hill 50-50.
For All-Ireland final, for games when it's a neutral venue, which is basically all of Dublin's games, bar their home game in the Super 8.
Okay. I don't know. I think if you want to beat Dublin, you want to beat the hill.
It's worth 4 points, roughly. It's worth a load of stuff. If you read Kieran Shannon yesterday in the Irish Examiner, the home advantage intimidates referees. The hill in particular will have the same impact as home court advantage in big basketball games, or in La Liga. It's been proven that referees give extra time to home teams if they need to score a late goal.
Well, did you read the piece by Paul Tompkins about Liverpool not getting penalties at Anfield in front of the Kop?
I didn't.
Because the referees feel that people feel they'll be biased, so they go against that.
Well, I mean, is that science, or is that just I've watched a few games, you don't get penalties?
No, this is based on Liverpool in recent seasons, statistically speaking.
Well, okay, I mean...
But I still think I would like to go and beat Dublin with the hill full of blue.
I mean, you would.
In tears.
But that's
I've seen it. It's a beautiful feeling. It's a beautiful,
I have been in
beautiful,
tears on the
beautiful
hill,
feeling. What's your hope for the summer?
Kerry get their comeuppance. Just you. Just for you. Just for you. Just for that shit that you just said.
That's where we're going to leave things for this year's edition of Spicy Questions ahead of the GA Championship. 23 of them, to be precise. We should do more spicy questions.
It went on way too long.
Mild. It went on way too long. They weren't very spicy. It was kind of like a curry from North Dublin kind of thing, not actually from the source, but...
hey, there's lots of great curries.
I'm going to the wrong places, clearly. But I can't handle spicy, so I don't know why I'm even talking about this.
Amazing.
Thank you very much for joining us. Tweet us at Off the Ball AM.